Picture this. You're sorting through a handful of quarters for laundry or parking meters when something catches your eye, a glint that seems just a bit off. That ordinary piece of change suddenly becomes a portal to the past, a puzzle begging to be solved, and depending on its quirks and condition, a ticket to a small fortune. Today, we're zeroing in on one of those intriguing finds, the 1988 Washington quarter. Buckle up, because this isn't your run-of-the-mill pocket change narrative. We're diving into the backstory, the telltale error varieties, the jaw-dropping auction records, and even how a single grade difference can send values soaring. Let's peel back the layers on this 40-centimeter wonder and see why collectors aged 40 to 50 and beyond are buzzing about it. The story of the 1988 quarter starts in the heart of the United States Mint's Philadelphia and Denver facilities, both churning out millions of Washington quarters that year. Designed originally by John Flanagan in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday, the series had long since become the backbone of everyday commerce. By '88, the design was so familiar that most people barely gave it a glance. But within that sea of uniform coins, a handful slipped through with misalignments, doubled dies, or off-center strikes that transformed them into prized rarities. Though the basic portrait of Washington remained unchanged, subtle minting mishaps infused select specimens with lasting value. What should you be looking for? First, check for a faint but distinctive halo around the inscriptions and date. That's often a clue to a double die error. Genuine double die quarters show doubling on letters like Liberty and the date numerals, so pronounced that you can trace the doubled edges with a fingernail or a loop. Another variation lies in off-center strikes. Any displacement beyond 3% of the coin's diameter can significantly boost interest. These errors can leave part of Washington's profile truncated or shift the rim so only snippets of the legend remain. It takes a keen eye, but spotting these anomalies is like unlocking a secret code. Why does rarity matter here? Production figures for error coins pale in comparison to the millions of standard quarters minted in 1988, over 300 million in Philadelphia alone. Yet only a few thousand error pieces ever make it into circulation. Even among those, pristine examples are rarer still. Grading services like PCGS and NGC assign numbers to these coins, and grades above MS65, mint state, become exponentially scarcer. A double die example graded MS67 might be one of just 5 known. That scarcity, coupled with the demand from seasoned collectors aiming to complete specialized Washington quarter error collections, drives prices into the hundreds or even low thousands of dollars range. Speaking of money, let's talk market highlights. In early 2024, an MS66 double die obverse 1988p Washington quarter sold at auction for nearly $1,200, surprising many who thought quarters from the late 80s held little collector interest. Around the same time, an off-center specimen shifted almost 15% of the die, fetched $950 in a private sale. Auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers record these sales regularly, and the trend line points upward, error specialists lining up to bid fiercely. It's not uncommon to see prices climb 10 to 15% year over year, and the average selling price of top-grade error quarters has doubled over the last decade. You might wonder how a coin that spent decades jingling in pockets gains such lore. Here's one anecdote. A retiree in Ohio discovered a 1988 off-center quarter in his change jar in 2018. Unaware of its value, he spent months using it for laundry quarters until a garage sale dealer recognized the telltale missing rim. By the time he checked grading notifications, the coin had tripled in value. Stories like this underscore a key point. Even well-worn collections can hide unexpected treasures, and knowledge is the collector's best ally. Of course, condition is king. A circulated, heavily worn double die quarter might still command a modest premium, perhaps $50 to $75, depending on eye appeal. But as soon as a specimen enters mint state territory, values accelerate dramatically. MS63 pieces often start in the $300 to $400 range, while MS65 examples, or better, can soar past the $1,000 mark. For off-center errors, the degree of misalignment plays a role too. A 5% misstrike offers a small premium over a 3% one, but once you hit 10 or more percent, you're in blockbuster territory. Collectors chasing eye-catching specimens specifically seek those bold misalignments. Beyond the numbers, every coin carries character. Some 1988-era quarters exhibit faint die cracks, thin lines creeping across Washington's neck or the eagle on the reverse. These minor varieties often slip under the radar, but can add collectible appeal. Others show die clashes, where faint raised impressions appear on the fields because the dies struck each other without a planchet in place. It's like the coin moonlighting with a unique fingerprint. And if you find one with verdant toning, a subtle rainbow patina, expect bids to climb even higher. Toning doesn't change intrinsic rarity, but it gives a coin soul. By now, you've seen how this humble 25-cent piece can carry a surprisingly rich narrative. Whether you're sorting through decades-old change jars or hunting error rolls at your local bank, keep an eye out for those doubled letters, off-center rims, and unusual toning. The 1988 Washington quarter may seem young among its 18th century namesake, but its modern minting mishaps have granted it an unexpected place in collectors' hearts and portfolios. If you're holding one just shy of perfection, you could be sitting on five figures rather than face value. Now that we've unraveled the secrets behind the 1988 quarter's historical quirks, grading nuances, and market fascination, get ready to shift gears. Up next, we'll explore another mid-decade marvel that's quietly amassed its own cult following. Stay tuned, because the coin hunt is far from over, and the next treasure might be closer than you think. Shifting gears from the 88 quirks of the Washington quarter, our next stop brings us back even further into the mid-decade landscape, the 1982 Washington quarter. At first glance, it's another unassuming piece of pocket change, yet peel back its layers and you'll find a host of fascinating twists. From the Denver and Philadelphia mints to the rarities born of misplaced dies and weight variations, the 1982 quarter offers seasoned collectors and casual finders alike a treasure trove of variety. So grab your loupe and settle in, because this journey through die flaws, mint state marvels, and surprising auction tallies promises to keep you on the edge of your seat. The Washington Quarter Series, introduced in 1932, had by 1982 transitioned from prestige commemorative to daily staple. That year, roughly 400 million quarters rolled out of Philadelphia and nearly 300 million from Denver, numbers so vast that one might assume every example was identical. Yet hidden among those ranks were coins struck on the wrong planchet, pieces with die cracks that split George Washington's jawline, and even weight-variant specimens produced during the U.S. Mint's brief experiment with silver-clad planchets left over from earlier Roosevelt dimes. While most circulating 1982 quarters weigh in at the standard 5.67 grams of copper-nickel clad, a handful tipped the scales at just under 5 grams, earning them whispers of lightweight status. Discovering one of those can send even a veteran collector's heart racing. To spot a standout 1982 quarter, start with the obvious. Check the mint mark on the obverse. P for Philadelphia appears without a mint mark. D for Denver sits just above the ribbon binding Washington's ponytail. Next, look for anomalies in the lettering. A classic double die obverse shows Liberty with a faint shadow offset by nearly half a millimeter, while double digits in the 1982 date sometimes appear as tiny parallel strokes, subtle enough to pass unnoticed unless you're scrutinizing under magnification. Off-center strikes tend to divert no more than 4%, but even that small misalignment can truncate the rim and clip part of the mint mark. And if you happen upon a quarter that's a few percent lighter than spec, you've likely found an artifact of a weigh-in error somewhere in the mass production frenzy. So why all the hype over a quarter minted just over 40 years ago? Rarity, first and foremost. The vast majority of 82 quarters are routine, yet error types numbered in the low thousands contrast sharply with the hundreds of millions of flawless strikes. Grading services log only a few dozen of each major variety past MS65, and single examples at MS66 are treated like celebrity sightings. A 1982D double die obverse graded MS66 sold in late 2023 for $1,800, surprising collectors who assumed such premiums were reserved for 19th century issues. That sale rippled through online forums, sparking fresh interest and healthy bidding wars on similar specimens. Digging deeper, auction records reveal further eye-openers. In March 2024, Heritage Auctions offered a quarter with a 10% off-center strike and a dramatic die crack snaking across the reverse eagle. Bidding topped out at $1,250, making it one of the highest-priced mid-century clad errors that year. Even more intriguing was a specimen described as struck on a dime planchet, a hefty weight reduction and curious rim thickness hinting that it accidentally came from the Roosevelt dime hopper. That oddball piece commanded $2,100 when the hammer fell, underscoring collectors' appetite for true oddities. But beyond headline-grabbing sales lie stories that resonate on a personal level. One collector recalls discovering a 1982 quarter with a faint die clash, tiny raised lines decorating Washington's cheek, while sorting through 50 rolls bought from a local bank. Initially dismissing it as a surface scratch, he only realized its significance after an online peer pointed out the telltale signs of a clash caused by a misaligned die. What began as a casual Saturday find evolved into a prized highlight of his registry set, earning praise for its clear fields and subtle, yet distinct, die clash. Condition remains the ultimate arbiter of value. A heavily circulated double-die 1982 quarter might fetch $75 to $100, while an MS64 example could sell in the $300 to $400 range. Jump to MS65 and prices often cross the $600 threshold, with MS66 examples commanding bids in the low thousands. Off-center errors show a similar pattern. Minor misalignments of 3 to 5% yield a modest premium over standard strikes, whereas bold misstrikes exceeding 8% elevate the coin into the upper echelons, often above $1,200 if the strike is clean and the surface is flashy. Variations in toning and surface preservation further influence price. Brilliant, untuned examples can appear sterile under harsh grading lights, but a quarter exhibiting soft gold or rose hues around the rims attracts attention for its visual appeal. Toning doesn't create rarity, but it can transform a common error type into a standout showpiece. Conversely, unattractive spots or contact marks can shave hundreds of dollars off an otherwise solid MS65 piece, demonstrating that eye appeal remains paramount. Digressing from minting missteps for a moment, consider the historical context of 1982 itself. It marked the year the U.S. Mint began experimenting with vibration-driven presses to improve striking efficiency. Early tests sometimes caused slight shifts in planchet placement, translating into subtle off-center errors downstream. As the year wore on and technical kinks were ironed out, error rates declined, making early-run 1982 quarters marginally scarcer than those struck later in the year. Tracking die pairing numbers and production runs, specialized registry collectors often strive to assemble representative specimens from each production phase, heightening demand for coins with verifiable strike dates and die codes. You may also encounter proof like 1982 business strikes, examples exhibiting mirror-like fields and strong contrast. These aren't official proof issues, but rather business coins struck against polished dies. Some registries classify them as PL, proof-like, and assign additional premiums. A proof-like double-die quarter-graded PR68 earned $2,500 at auction in early 2024, showcasing how a confluence of errors, close to perfect surfaces, and proof-like finish can create a rare trifecta. Collectors passionate about die cracks and clashes often refer to subtle patina patterns as fingerprints. In one notable case, a collector documented a die crack that progressively widened across a series of coins, providing a timeline of die wear. By comparing early and late die states, characterized by the crack's length and position, enthusiasts can roughly date when a specific die pairing was used. That blend of numismatic detective work and visual analysis keeps the hunt endlessly engaging and adds depth beyond simple grade chasing. If you're actively hunting these 1982 varieties, roll searching and coin shop visits remain tried-and-true methods, but auction platforms and registry showcases offer educational snapshots, complete with high-resolution photos and provenance details. When bidding, always account for grading service population reports. As new coins are submitted and certified, supply numbers may rise, tempering prices for overrepresented varieties. Conversely, once grading populations stagnate for 6 months or longer, values can tick upward, rewarding those who act decisively. Ultimately, Whether you unearth a quarter with a razor-sharp off-center strike, a whisper of doubling on the date, or a ghostly die clash that appears under oblique lighting, the thrill lies in the discovery. Each error whispers of the mint's mechanical ballet, where steel and copper-nickel collided under immense pressure, yet sometimes misstepped. And while the face value remains 25 cents, the stories, the chase, and the collector community's passion transform these coins into far more than mere currency. As we wrap up our detailed look at the 1982 Washington Quarters oddities, be mindful that every coin tells a story of the machines that struck it, the hands that spent it, and the collectors who champion it. Next, we'll draw our exploration to a close by weaving together the common threads between these mid-decade marvels, reflecting on what they teach us about the broader world of modern-era collecting and the evergreen excitement of keeping your eyes peeled. The journey's final chapter is just ahead.